Hey hooligan, welcome back to part 2 of Refined Print Episode 1, Mindset by Carol Dweck. Obviously, I recommend you watch part 1 first because I think this will make a little more sense, but if you're pressed for time, here's a little recap.
When was the last time you thought about the nature versus nurture debate? Do you think your intelligence comes from your DNA or your hard work? What about your job skills? Your creativity? Your charisma?
It turns out the answers to these questions have a profound impact on how you work, and can be the difference between a lifetime of achievement and a lifetime of underachieving, lying, cheating, and other antisocial behaviors.
So here's the root of the problem. Batman versus Superman. It had it all, didn't it? How could people not like it? While Batman's abilities come from years of training, all of Superman's powers come from just being born Kryptonian. He didn't have to work for any of them. He just crash-landed in Kansas as a baby and was immediately throwing cars around.
Martha, Clark, Kent, are you listening to what I'm saying?
So in the nature versus nurture debate, Superman is all nature, and Batman is all nurture. Dweck calls these fixed or growth mindsets.
You can't control who your parents are, so believing that your intelligence and other skills are just products of your DNA or accidents of your birth means that you don't believe you can develop those skills, which becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. This turns your world into a competition over things you can't control. If you don't believe you can make yourself smarter by studying, then a mistake or a failure isn't just a setback you can get over, it's proof that you weren't good enough. So the logical solution is to just say you're smarter than everyone else and spend your time defending that reputation by avoiding challenges and hiding your mistakes. This fragile ego world also encourages you to build yourself up by pushing others down. For you to be a winner, others must be losers. The inverse, however, is also a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe your skills are mostly a product of hard work, then any mistakes or failures you experience become opportunities for learning. You seek out challenges and critique because those things help you improve. And perhaps most importantly, you're able to handle setbacks that would stop someone who focuses all their attention on heredity and genetics.
Don't touch that. I told you. It's kryptonite, Superman.
Carol Dweck is a Stanford, Columbia, and Harvard professor of psychology who's focused a lot of her academic career on what she calls the mindset model. Her book on this subject is titled Mindset: The New Psychology of Success, and I've included a link to read it for free on the internet in the doobly-doo down below.
So if it's so simple and the consequences of a fixed mindset are so bad, why aren't we all teaching our kids a growth mindset? Because it's not so simple. Like Dweck's book, I'm describing it in black and white terms because that's the easiest way to explain it. But it's not black and white. Your mindset is pernicious and it takes a lot of effort to change. And unfortunately, it's stupidly easy to accidentally instill a fixed mindset in your kids. In Dweck's experiments, just changing the praise kids received after a few nonverbal IQ test questions instilled one mindset or the other. If they told a kid,
"Wow, you did really well, you must have tried really hard,"
it put them in a growth mindset and they were fine. On the other hand, if they told a kid,
"Wow, you did really well, you must be really smart at this,"
that put them straight into a fixed mindset and the bragging and the lying started immediately. In another experiment, they didn't even have to praise the kids themselves. All they had to do was describe various famous mathematicians like Ada Lovelace or Alan Turing as hardworking or geniuses. A slip of the tongue is all it takes. Tell your kids they're smart or Einstein was a genius and they might grow up to be Nazis. And this whole mindset thing is something most of us never even heard of. So when the self-esteem movement in the 80s or so told parents they all needed to praise their kids more, how do you think they praised them? Believe in yourself, kid! You're smart! You can do it! Unfortunately, those are precisely the ideas that are going to hurt our kids in the long run. Since then, research shows that the self-esteem movement caused more problems than it solved.
They could not handle setbacks. That's why not to tell Johnny he's brilliant. It gets him caught up in being brilliant rather than learning.
You are truly magnificent, Shannon. Praise like this can lead to embarrassments like this.
Yeah, a study of 8 developed countries found that U.S. students were dead last in math skills, but number 1 in confidence in math skills. Even though they suck at it. Yes, we're number 1 in thinking we're number 1.
Kids need honest feedback, say Dweck and others.
Can you count by nines?
And they need to learn that excellence comes from effort.
Is it better if everybody gets an award?
Okay, it's better than getting an award, right?
Melissa!
Well, I'm not sure, because the kids getting trophies don't seem as excited about it.
Everybody gets this.
Everybody gets blue.
No champion.
Yep.
Everybody the winner.
Perhaps the most unexpected bad news about the self-esteem movement is that some experts say it may actually be dangerous. But new research suggests the self-esteem advocates have it backwards. Psychology professors Brad Bushman and Roy Baumeister did research on over 1,000 undergraduates and found that people who thought they were superior or who had inflated views of themselves were more aggressive.
We tell our children they don't have to fix their flaws because it's the world's job to accept everything about them and love it. Like they say on reality shows, the most important thing is just you doing you. But what if you is a big asshole? He is the grown-up version of every pain-in-the-ass kid who ever sat behind you on a plane kicking the back of your seat while the parents did nothing. Little Logan is just exploring. No, little Logan is being a dick. I just want a reporter one time to ask him about humility so I can hear him say, there is nobody better at being humble than me.
You're not known to be a humble man, but I wonder.
I think I am actually humble. I think I'm much more humble than you would understand.
So if knowledge is power, what can we do with this information? Because there's a big difference between knowing about a problem and solving it. I can't just hand you these keys and bam, you've got a growth mindset and all your problems are solved. Although you can pick these up for about $12 at your grocery store. Like other skills, cultivating a growth mindset takes work. I feel like I'm decent at it, but like everything I do, it's a work in progress. If you want to join me in cultivating a growth mindset, I recommend you read Dweck's book. I put a link to read it for free on the internet in the doobly-doo down below. To recap, a fixed mindset is believing your DNA is mostly responsible for your abilities and you can't change them much. A growth mindset is believing that learning and practice are mostly responsible for your abilities, and it includes 3 specific practices. Hard work, especially studying your failures for learning opportunities. When you're struggling with something, try different strategies. And when you're stumped, ask others for help. Dweck outlines 6 steps for cultivating a growth mindset. Step 1. Embrace your fixed mindset. I realize that sounds weird. I just told you Nazis have fixed mindsets, and you don't want to be a Nazi. Yeah, well, Nazis can be vegetarians too. We all have some fixed mindset and some growth mindset. So acknowledging that we all struggle with fixed thinking is the first step in managing it.
You can't kill me. You can't. Don't you understand? I'm part of you. You need me. I need you. I don't need you.
We have here an unusual opportunity to appraise the human mind, or to examine, in Earth terms, the roles of good and evil in a man. His negative side, which you call hostility, lust, violence, and his positive side, which Earth people express as compassion, love, tenderness.
Step 2. Learn your triggers. Dweck doesn't mean triggers in the PTSD sense. She's talking about situations where your knee-jerk reaction puts you in a fixed mindset. We all have some of these triggers, and Dweck lists 5 common ones in the book. The non-starter tells you you don't have what it takes. It's the fear of challenge that makes you give up before you've even begun. The underachiever tells you you don't have what it takes when a new project starts getting difficult, and tells you to give up and do something easier. The loser shows up when you lose a job, a partner, or a contract, and tells you you suck because you lost them. Imposter syndrome compares you to people you think are successful and says you don't measure up or don't belong in their company. The legacy shows up when you're put in charge of a team. I'm the team lead, now it's time for me to separate the boys from the men. This trigger isn't necessarily sexist, that's just the figure of speech that sprang to my mind. Step 3. Name your nemesis. This may sound silly, but here's the recommendation. Invent a character to represent your fixed mindset. Give that character a name, like Loser Larry or Howard the Dick. This lets you externalize those fixed thoughts and take some of the sting out of owning them.
But can you defeat yourself?
Mega Scott.
Mega Scott. Solo round.
This incredible French toast with like bananas on it, and you get bacon on the side. I'm liking that. Yeah. Oh, let's do it next week. Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah, all right. Be good. Yeah. Hey.
What happened?
Oh, nothing. We just shot the shit. He's just a really nice guy. We're gonna get brunch next week. We actually have a lot in common.
Step 4. Teach your nemesis. When you find yourself having fixed thoughts, imagine a conversation with your nemesis character. Thank them for their criticism and let them know you're going to try something else.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Asshole.
Step 5. Plan in vivid detail. You know how you say, tomorrow I'm going to make that phone call, and tomorrow comes and you forget? Something that helps with follow-through is visualizing exactly when and where and how you're going to do the thing. So if you have an important task like a phone call, figure out all the surrounding circumstances and then rehearse your opening line a little bit. Tomorrow at lunch I'm going to jerk off in the bathroom, and then I'm going to go back to my desk to make the call and say, I'm canceling my gym membership. Step 6. Maintain the change. One of the other things we humans are really good at is thinking we've solved a problem when there really is no solved. You clean up your desk and you say, there, I fixed it. And a few days later, it looks like the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. You have to keep up the maintenance if you want the benefits to last. It's just like the tortoise and the hare. So keep calm and carry on like the tortoise while the hare sleeps off his advantage.
But if this all seems like too much work, I guess you could always go back to relying on measurements of skulls and other things.
If you say, well, black crime is due to white racism, you're saying that's the explanation. And what I'm saying is that might not be all of the explanation. There might be something inherent in populations that make people behave differently in temperament or intelligence or what have you. The Germans believe that the Aryans were the master race. The Japanese believe that the Asians were the master race, that they were specifically the master race among the Japanese. So the idea of a master race is an essential element of fascism.
Maybe the fact that some people deny scientific evidence is less a bug with them as it is a feature of human conversations, including scientific ones, that some people will be persuaded by different techniques. And how we all get on and live with each other in the face of that, especially when denying the evidence on things like climate change and vaccination can be really dangerous to everyone, that's the great human challenge, isn't it?
You mean a bigger brain means a smarter person?
Slightly so, yes, on average.
And a big and larger genitals mean more promiscuity?
That is something that the media likes to hype up.
Well, did you say that or didn't you?
Sexual intercourse frequencies. Now, Phil doesn't do his own research. He picks and chooses among data that he likes. His penis-sized data comes from an 1898 anonymous French army surgeon who traveled through Africa and records the size of African penises. And then he's got another study. He's got a study that compares Nigerian medical students to Czech army officers, which shows that the Nigerians have longer penises. The Czech army officers have more circumferent penises. So which is bigger, long or fat?
Hey, thanks for watching. I'm Sam. If you laughed or you learned something, please hit that like button down below. It looks like this, and it helps me out quite a bit. Thanks. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell if you really want to subscribe. I mean, if you really want to be notified. And if you want to see more bloopers and sneak peeks and other special content, you can get that on my Patreon, link in the doobly-doo down below. I really enjoy making this comedy for you, and I plan to do it for a long time to come. Thanks for watching. I'm Sam, and I'll see you next time.